Hello, today is day 7 of our Christmas reading calendar, and the topic is Read a Book Your Parent Loved. We're going to change that a little bit. Today I'm going to be reading you a story that I loved when I was a little girl. The title of my story is The Cat That Climbed the Christmas Tree. There he is. His name is Benny, and he has a little adventure on the Christmas tree. It was Benny the cat's first Christmas. On Christmas Eve, armloads of boxes were carried into the living room. Out of the tissue paper and cellophane bags, wonderful objects appeared to be hung on the Christmas tree. Benny was fascinated. He stood on his hind legs and grabbed the lowest branch of the tree with an eager paw. "Now, Benny, behave yourself," Emily laughed and swooped him away. Christmas trees are not for cats, but Benny just wanted to play. But after the family was in bed, Benny sat at the foot of the Christmas tree. Glass balls sparkled in the moonlight, tiny sleds, velvet mice, a reindeer with real bells dangled from branch tips. In the upper boughs, ladies and miniature soldiers floated in the half shadows, and on the highest branch, an angel stood in silent watch. Benny just had to have a closer look. His muscles tensed and his tail twitched. What a climb this would be, right to the very top. Look at all the ornaments on that Christmas tree. In one quick leap, he was on a low branch, nose to nose with an old fuzzy reindeer. He gave a little tap to make sure the reindeer would spin, and for good measure, a playful growl. The reindeer tossed his head and snorted. Benny was so surprised, he nearly fell off a branch. "You're real," he said. "Of course I am," the reindeer replied. Then Benny heard excited chatter and bits of song filtering through the branches. "Is it always this noisy?" he asked. "Oh yes," the reindeer said. "We only get together once a year, you know." "Well, this is my first Christmas," Benny admitted. "Your first?" the old reindeer chuckled. "I've been with the family for years. In fact, I used to hang at the top, right beside the angel." "Really? At the top? That's where I'm headed," Benny said, and he gave a wave. He scrambled on to a higher branch. So the ornaments can talk in this story. Up Benny climbed past silver flutes and tiny drums. Miniature skaters called to one another, and an old-fashioned clothespin ladies gossiped on their boughs. Suddenly, a familiar squeal caught his attention. A velvet mouse peeked out from a red stocking. Curious, Benny approached. The mouse ducked out of sight. "Go away!" cried the mouse. "Don't worry," said Benny. "I never hunt velvet mice. Besides, I'm on my way to the top of the tree." The mouse cautiously rose from his stocking and regarded Benny with interest. "That's very unusual," the mouse said, "and possibly quite risky." "Cats thrive on risks," Benny scoffed. "And just the other day I jumped from the kitchen counter to the table, and I was carrying a piece of bacon at the same time." "I'm sure you're good," the mouse said, "but these are sharp needles in shaky branches, not to mention the soldiers who guard the top of the tree. You'll never get past them." "I'll keep that in mind," Benny smiled. "How about a game of tag on my way back?" "No thanks," the mouse cried, and quickly disappeared into his stocking. Benny climbed higher. He stopped beside a red sled to admire a beautiful bird. She was perched before a tiny music stand, and her long iridescent tail swept to the branches below. "Why, it's a cat!" the bird cried. "However did you get up here?" "I climbed," said Benny proudly. "Such bravery! Your reward shall be a song. Everyone tells me I have a very fine voice." Benny glanced up. Was that the lacy hem of the angel's skirt up ahead? No, he said, I can't stay. Benny reached the next branch. Ladies whispered from behind their fans, and one pointed at something over Benny's shoulder. Before he could turn, Benny heard a shout. Halt! Who goes there? It's the soldiers. Their leader advanced and stood before Benny. I'm Benny the cat, Benny answered in his most charming voice. I've come to see the top of the tree. No cats in this tree, the leader said firmly. Go back. But I want to see the angel, Benny said, smiling. I'll just be a minute. Benny started around the line of soldiers. They rushed to block his way, but Benny was too fast for them. He leapt to one side, broke past, and 2 glass bells crashed to the floor. The tree was in an uproar. Benny caught a branch over his head, but it dipped sharply. His back legs slid off the bough and spun in the air. What is this commotion in my tree? A voice called from above. Soldiers, let the visitor pass. The soldiers withdrew. Benny regained his footing and made his way to the topmost branch. The angel stood on her fluffy cloud. Benny had never seen such a beautiful creature. She wore a long gown of satin and lace, and she had 2 graceful silk wings. Benny, what is this disturbance? She asked. I was just out for a climb, Benny explained. How do you know my name? I am the guardian angel. I watch and protect all of the household at Christmas time. Even me? Oh yes, especially you. Benny studied a paw while he thought about this. Benny, cats do not belong in Christmas trees, the angel continued, more gently now. Didn't your family tell you that? I guess so. The angel sighed. Well, you must leave now. How are you going to get down? Down? Benny hadn't thought about that. He gazed over the edge of the branch. It was a long way to the floor. Benny remembered at time last summer when he'd been rescued from the garage roof with a ladder. Of course, he was just a kitten then. Actually, my specialty is the climb up, said Benny, looking back at the angel. Usually I just wrap my paws around the trunk and scoot down backward. The angel smiled. I think that might be a little disastrous for the tree. Any other ideas? I don't suppose you have a ladder, Benny asked hopefully. The angel shook her head. Well then, Benny announced, I'll just have to go down the same way I came up. Benny jumped to a lower branch, but the branch drooped when he landed, and the entire tree began to sway. Halt, the soldier shouted. My music stand, chirped the bird. I knew this would happen, the mouse squealed. Benny, come back, the angel called. We must get you down another way. Soldiers, please bring me the red sled 4 branches down. Benny heard a rustling, and in a moment, the 2 soldiers appeared, carrying the brightly painted sled. Somehow, the sled seemed larger here on the highest bough. When the angel said, Step on, Benny, Benny found that he'd fit just right, although he had to tuck in his tail. What is he going to do with that sled? This is great, Benny cried. Can I do loops? No loops, the angel said. Behave yourself. I'll be watching. The angel reached down and stroked Benny's head. Her touch was as soft as the velvet inside the old violin case where Benny had once fallen asleep. Then she smiled. Are you ready? I'll give you a push. The sled sailed off the tree. Goodbye, goodbye, Benny called. Down he glided into the moonlight, past the wooden soldiers who saluted, past the ladies who waved their fans, past rocking horses and the iridescent bird. He could not resist swooping close to the velvet mouse, who ducked into his red stocking as Benny passed by. At last, Benny landed on the carpet just below the fuzzy reindeer. That was the best climb ever, he purred as he stretched and headed for his basket. On Christmas morning, the family found Benny unusually sweet and well behaved, and he didn't jump on a single countertop until sometime after New Year's Day. There's Benny fast asleep. I hope you enjoyed one of my favorite stories from when I was little. Go get your reading calendars, find ornament number 7 and color it in. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.